welcome back. Time for our next keynote now, and we welcome Furkan Karal, CEO and Inclusive Leadership Advisor at diversein.com. Hi Furkan, how are you? Good to see you again.
Great to see you, Neil. I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm really good, thank you. Now, we caught up the other day, that's no secret to this, and you told me the start of this presentation is going to be a bit different, it's going to be interactive, and you need me to hang around a little bit for it. So talk me through it, the floor's yours. What do I need to do?
Wonderful. Thank you so much again. So does everybody have their mobile phones with them? Please take them out because we are going to have some fun and we are going to ask you a couple of questions. So let's get started. I would like to invite you to go to the QR code on the screen with your mobile phones, everyone, please. And once you're there, you can either give us a thumbs up. There's an option there to thumbs up. Wonderful. I see some people already there. And if you miss it, we will be able to see the code on the top of the screen. So anybody who joins later on can go to menti.com website and use the code. So I see a few people are already there. So let's get started. My first question to you, I'm really curious to get a better understanding of your view on inclusive leadership. What do you think? What makes a leader inclusive leader in 3 words? There is no right or wrong in here, but you can enter the 3 words that you believe makes a leader an inclusive leader and distinguish them from the non-inclusive leaders. And wonderful, I see some results already coming up. Empathy, humble, patience, emotion, kindness, understanding, integrity, engaging, fair, open-minded, listening, vulnerable, reflecting, I'm loving it. Culturally competent, kindness. And by the way, tomorrow is World's Kindness Day. Such a nice reminder of those values. Approachable, supportive, authentic, transparency, self-aware, good listeners, and empathy, open mind, understanding, listener, supportive, humble are coming bigger, which is wonderful. Absolutely. And we are going to be referring to those words in a minute. So while you have your phones with you, I would like to ask my next question. Is at out of 10, where would you say? There's again no right or wrong in here, just to get a better understanding what could have been improved more. So I see 6 people participated already, 8, 5.6, 6.3, which is coming up as the average number. Okay, 5.8 to 6. So it's been moving between 5.5 and 6.5. Okay, it's 32 people participated already, 6.2. Thank you so much, first of all, for participating in this. It gives us a better understanding of what is your view on inclusion and what things could have been improved out of overall organizations. So there's always a gap. Our organizations are not perfect, but there's always room to improve. And thanks for your honest view on this. So if you must be wondering, who is this woman? Why is she here talking about inclusive leadership and why this topic is important? So to feed your curiosity, let me share a little bit of my background story with you. Well, after working for 10 big years as a software engineer in multinational tech companies in Ireland, I said goodbye to my high salary and made a huge transition in my career. And here is why. Diversity, inclusion, belonging. These words were being used a lot as a marketing tool by large organizations, but the action piece was missing. What the media was showing about the organizations were a completely different story than what the employees were actually talking about them. It was a big frustration. On the other side, one mistake was always being repeated over and over again, that women were always in minority, right? And when it comes to women in the leadership, it was even in more minority. And when it comes to women with different ethnic backgrounds, maybe who look like me, in the leadership positions of big tech companies, ops were not found, didn't even exist at all. And I said, Houston, we have a problem here. And this was a big wake-up call for me, and I had to do something about it. So 6 years ago, I started my organization Diverse In with the vision to bring action orientation to organizations' diversity and inclusion initiatives. Not only looking at diversity in one direction, but looking at it in a holistic way from multiple directions so that we could merge our differences together and also provide authentic solutions to organizations. So this is what I have been doing, and got an opportunity to lecture at IADT on their master's program in the last 2 years. And 3 years ago, actually this month, 2 days ago, I celebrated the launch of my book, Inclusive Intelligence, How to be a Role Model for Diversity and Inclusion in the Workplace. And I'm super delighted. We will be pulling some insights and data from the book. And to be honest, we have reached over 25,000 leaders globally, improving their inclusive leadership understanding and actions. That is a career that I didn't expect, but I'm super delighted to see the impact of it. Okay, that is enough of me. We will be referring to the words diversity, inclusion. So I think it makes sense to unpack it a little bit more. What does it mean? There are so many definitions out there, which is fantastic. And I believe as leaders, we all need to have our own definitions of diversity and inclusion. So here is my definition. Diversity is you. Because you are unique. Inclusion is accepting you because you matter. In other words, diversity means recognizing our differences, and inclusion means building a harmony from those differences. We are all like our fingerprints, different from one another in terms of age, gender, culture, race, ethnicity, you name it. And all our differences deserve to be recognized and appreciated so that we can actually turn them into our superpowers. Well, what diversity is not, it's definitely not an attack on anyone. It's rather an invitation letter for us to hear those voices that we haven't heard before, to invite those people that we haven't invited before to the table. And if you're here, I believe you already know what kind of benefits diversity and inclusion, and I will, in short, refer it to a DEI, what it does, what kind of benefits. But I'd like to highlight one important thing of it. Research shows that inclusion and well-being works hand in hand together. For example, when the inclusion is increased in an organization, the well-being is also increased. And the other way around too, when the inclusion is increased, when the well-being is increased, the inclusion is also increased. It makes so much sense, doesn't it? For example, if I feel like I'm being included, then I don't feel hesitant to go to a colleague to ask questions. I feel more confident with the work that I do, and as a result, feeling more satisfied with the work that I do. And I feel less stress on my shoulders, and feeling I like to stay more in that organization, and also invite my friends or people that I know as a good company to join us. It makes so much sense. And the longer I stay in that organization, the company is making higher revenues. It impacts the bottom line as well. So it is no brainer not to invest into what kind of things we can actually do in terms of DEI. But my engineer brain wanted to ask this first. There are so many resources out there, so many things happening in the media. But what works and what doesn't work? Because looks like there is a little changes and impact while the investment looks so big. And I wanted to understand what really worked the best. And I came across this research. I want to share it with you. It looks complicated, but I simplified for you, okay? Basically, this graph, this research tells us that diverse teams, when they are managed by inclusive leaders, they are flourishing. Their productivity level is so high. But on the other scenario, when the same team, diverse team maybe, when they are not managed by inclusive leaders, their productivity level is at the bottom. So imagine the same group of people, the same team could be the most performing team in the organization or the least performing. So the biggest factor here, the enabler, are inclusive leaders. Then I asked, okay, what makes leaders inclusive leaders? And thanks for your collaboration earlier as well, because you have captured so many of them already, and it is only not limited to this. So we have researched with large organizations, leadership teams, to get a better understanding of what makes leaders inclusive leaders. And these leaders are located in different parts of the world. They do different jobs. They have different ethnic backgrounds, and they don't know each other. And we have seen 6 skills they had in common. And you ready? You have captured most of them already. And here are the 6 skills they had in common. Self-awareness, again, no surprise. Empathy was the bigger one you captured there. Engagement, so many times mentioned there. Cultural wisdom, accountability, and commitment. And most beautiful of it was these skills were lived authentically by those leaders. It wasn't coming as an imperative to let's do our organization, let's adapt to our organization's diversity and inclusion initiatives. But no, these leaders were ahead of the game already. So the inclusive intelligence concept was born. It is the meeting point of emotional intelligence and inclusive leadership. It basically means normalizing inclusion, opening up consciously to different views, and leading with authenticity. And we wanted to put this into data and see, look at this from a 360 perspective. I'm sure many of you have heard of 360 tools. It is a very similar fashion with inclusive intelligence based on the pillars that we find out from inclusive leaders, how the leaders view of themselves out of 10, and then how their teams actually view of them collectively and anonymously, getting an average of this and comparing where are the largest gaps. And you know, inclusion includes so much in it. And you have captured so many of these words already. So what this does is it lets the organization to see where are the largest gaps in those skills, in those leadership skills, so that the investment can go to bridge the gap in those skills. According to Inclusive Intelligence 360, there are actually 4 types of leaders. The first type is self-explanatory championing leaders. They are very visible in terms of being a role model in the space. They don't only look at diversity in one dimension, but they look at it from a holistic view, including, gender, culture, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion, you name it. And also they challenge the status quo. For example, when they are being given a list of shortlisted candidates, they go and follow up why they always receive the same group of the same profile of people. So they always challenge what is out there in the system. The second type of leaders are almost champions, and they are the leaders who are very similar to the championing leaders, but they only look at diversity in one dimension. And this is mostly the gender perspective. They are advocates for gender equality, but they ignore the rest of it. The third type is roaming leaders. They are the leaders who see a lot of things happening around the organization about DEI. They have good intentions, but they don't know where to start, what to do. They're a bit lost. And most of the people actually fall into this roaming leaders category, actually, so far. And the disconnected leaders, they are either resistance to the idea, or they don't believe it would make any difference into their, for example, sales results or performance, and etc. So I would like to share today 3 things that I believe can help us to move into a little bit closer to the championing leader side, okay? We have a limited time, so I can't share it all, unfortunately, but the 3 things I hope that will stay with you. Therefore, I surrounded my messages around my own personal stories. So what does ice cream got to do with me? Okay. Well, imagine the warmest day of Irish summer, and you know how rarely we got this right. So my company invited an ice cream man to let the employees enjoy the sunshine outside. But the thing is, it was the first day of Ramadan and I was fasting. But I didn't mind it at all. I was working away as usual on my desk. The first person passing by me told me, Furkan, go and get your ice cream before it's gone. I truly felt the care for me. And I said, thank you. By the way, Ramadan started, blah, blah, blah. And second person passing by, the same conversation. And the third person, the same conversation. And the fourth, and etc. At the end of the day, everyone's energy level went up because they got to spend a little bit more time outside, enjoy the sunshine, chat in the queue, and etc. But my energy level went down. Why? Not because of I didn't have the ice cream. It's because each time I'm responding to my colleague, the belief, like inside of me, the story was telling that, Furkan, they didn't care about you and your preference. Furkan, you are being invisible, unseen. They didn't care about you, Furkan. They didn't care about you, Furkan. So each time I'm responding to my colleagues, my bond between my employer and myself was getting looser and looser each time. What is the root cause of this problem? Have you ever seen this in the London tubes before? It's a very clear message. We won't tolerate hate crime. And then at the end, there's a number there for people believes that violating to the statement can actually send a text message. Very good. Most of the organizations today, and included that organization that I worked for, didn't have any clear communication channel. Could be an email or a phone number or a contact person. No. So anything could have been captured so easily are being missed because of lack of communication channel. So if your organization don't have any communication channels, please go ahead and find out what would be the best communication channel. And if you do, wonderful, try to make it more visible for everyone so that they are encouraged to share the things that they don't feel like they are being included. And I know if I could share this, they would change it in a heartbeat, and they would say thousands of sorry to me, and I know it truly. But I wasn't going to go and knock the door or look where to share these type of things. I had no idea. Nobody knew about it. So making it clear is going to make the things much, much easier. This response I always get from people when I share this ice cream story. Furkan, but you know what? You could have educated your employer. But excuse me, I'm there to serve as a software engineer, not to educate my employer about my own background culture. If I'm being invited to a board, if I want to contribute, yes, I could do that, but it wasn't my responsibility to do it altogether. And it is not being expected from my other white colleague to educate their employers while I was being loaded to educate my own employer. So that is not the solution to go. My next invitation for you today is to discover a little bit of your own biases, not to share with anyone else. It can stay with you. And 9 out of 10, when we do this, leaders told me that they were really surprised by the results that they got. So Harvard Business School has an implicit bias test online. You can go to the QR code and find this link, or even if you Google it, you will be able to find it. What I really like about it is you can actually take the test against different groups, not to blame yourself or fingerprint, but to reflect on it. What would I do if I have a bias against a group? If I'm meeting somebody from that group. And from my own experiences, I thought that I might have a bias against a group. And I did the test. Turns out I actually have a favor towards that group. So you will be very surprised by the results that you get. Okay. And my final message for you today is your commitment makes a huge difference. The story, your own story, why DEI is important to you, your leadership, your actions, your visions, and how you stand up and be present in the space, and your courage to stand up against non-inclusive behaviors. And all of these things makes a huge difference. And even when I see some leaders include DEI or diversity and inclusion in their profiles on their LinkedIn, for example, that is absolutely so welcoming for people who are maybe for the first time in that organization. They feel like they're the people maybe I can approach or maybe ask questions that I'm not happy with. So your commitment makes a huge difference. And please own it and spread your inclusive views on the space with others in the team. I know we can all become the inclusive leaders we want to see today. It's a matter of a little change, okay? And if we make 1 degree of change, just a little, by time we end up in a completely different destination. And I would like to end my talk with a powerful quote from my favorite writer, Virginia Woolf, once said that for most of history, Anonymous was a woman. But I'd like to remind us all that yes, we can't change history, but we all have the power within us today to make a new and inclusive history today. And it starts within us. So let's just do it. Thank you so much for listening to me, Gaurav Mahagat. And if you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn, this QR code brings you to my LinkedIn and you can connect with me. And if you write anything that you joined about this talk, write anything to me, you will be getting into a draw that I will do today at the end of the day. And I will announce the winners. And I will give away a copy of my book to you and post it to you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much. And there is so much love on the questions and the comments for the interactivity at the start. Brilliant start. Deborah says totally resonates. Orla says thank you so much for an encouraging, uplifting talk. And you've also broken new ground by doing a giveaway of a book as well. So you know what? I love that. That is fantastic. Thank you so much. And the ice cream story, I'm taking that with me. I'll remember that, and I'm speak for everyone watching. I'm sure everyone will take that with them because it's a story, it's an example. As small as it sounds, it was huge for you that day. So thank you for sharing that as well. We are right up on time, so I've got time for one audience question if I can. And this is incredibly useful, this one. What methods can we use to convince skeptical employees and leaders that diverse teams are more impactful, productive, and creative? What methods do you suggest?
Thank you so much. To be honest, I'm being asked about this a lot. It makes me feel like maybe the buy-in from the leaders are not there yet by some organizations, unfortunately. My view on it is asking them questions about their view on the space, like why do they think that they wouldn't make any difference with diversity and inclusion, and I think if they come into a solution, like if they come into a reason why, and then I would ask a follow-up question on my own insights and learning about DEI. I think people don't want to be told, but they want to come up into a solution with their own. And if they take a part of it, they are more likely to resonate and drives the problem into a solution. So I would challenge a little bit of their view. And there is a method by asking like 5 times why. And then it brings you down to the root cause of the problems. Not a biased questions, obviously, but asking open-ended questions like, how do you think that would have impacts the organization's overall results, and how do you think that would shape? So I think open-ended questions would give the leaders a little bit of like questioning their own idea, and then maybe giving away a little bit of maybe their own biases, maybe the things that they previously tried and didn't work. So I think it gives more clue to us, and you can always, I think, mentioning about the activities that are happening even outside of the work about DEI, and how is this something we as a company or as a team can contribute as well? Kind of like invitation to these conversations of them as well, I think would make a huge difference.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I know 2 words I'm going to be taking away from today are inclusive intelligence. I love to learn at these events as well. So thank you so much for your company. Really enjoyed it. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.